Hi, Dan Keeney at the 2013 Pulse Conference with Randy Vanderhoof. Randy is with the EMV Migration Forum, and he spoke to a couple of breakout sessions because I understood that your early breakout session was overflowing.
Yeah, there's quite an interest in EMV amongst all of the people here today.
What is the essential thing for the financial services industry to understand about the migration?
Well, I think a lot of it is the moving pieces that are involved with EMV migration. It involves not only changes that have to be made on the issuing side, but also on the merchant side and the processing sides in between. So all of our traditional payments partners in the ecosystem are being impacted by EMV, but in different ways, and therefore each of us in the stakeholder system have the need to try to make the changes necessary and plan for what they're going to do, but also align those changes and plans with what's happening with their partners as well to make a unified system work together.
So what is the timeline? It's probably way too complicated to get into specifically, but are we talking about 6 months, a year, 18 months?
Right now we're really in the implementation and execution phase of this, and it's not going to be the same time for everybody because we have to get cards into the marketplace and we have to get merchants upgrading their acceptance systems to accept those cards, and there's different planning schedules and development cycles between the issuing side and the merchant side. So they're not necessarily happening in parallel, but they're happening behind the scenes at the timelines that they're needing to meet in order to hit that October 2015 timeline deadline.
Can you explain briefly why this is an essential step?
The U.S. payments marketplace is the last market globally to move to the EMV standard. So the main reasons for moving to the EMV standard is to reduce fraud, to create global interoperability in payments, and to put the payments world into a platform that allows for future innovation. So all of these steps that we're going through now, which are costly and they're disruptive to our daily lives, are necessary in order to get those achievements down the road, which is lower fraud, continued global interoperability of our payment solutions, as well as being able to innovate around things like mobile technology, contactless technology, and some of the new and interesting ways to deal with card-not-present payment transactions as well.
You bring up fraud reduction as a compelling reason to do this, but in the opening forum of the Pulse Conference, we heard the argument that card-not-present fraud is really where the emphasis is in the U.S., and EMV migration doesn't really address that.
What EMV is going to address is counterfeit card fraud, the type of fraud that happens when people clone or make copies of their magnetic stripe cards and make replications of those in other uses. And EMV is going to address that because it's going to make cards more difficult to be counterfeited. It's going to identify fraud before it actually happens. What we don't want to see is just all of that fraud that gets closed down by a more secure payment card gets moved into the card-not-present channels. So there needs to be a parallel effort to address the card-not-present fraud problem, and that's happening right now between all of the cooperation of the brands and the issuers and the merchants working together on creative solutions for that. And EMV will play a part of that because there are technologies that can use the EMV chip as a way to build additional security into the card-not-present world, even when that physical card isn't inserted at the transaction point.
Randy Vanderhoof with the EMV Migration Forum. Appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm Dan Keeney at the 2013 Pulse Conference.